My dear friend, Vicki Nichols Goldstein, I'm so glad you're here. My Boulderite friend with the mostest. Thank you for joining us on the Blue Ocean Business Summit. Again this year, you're an alumnus of the summit. You were with us last year, so thanks for being with us again because we got a lot to cover. A lot of things have happened since last year's summit, so let's get to it. So I know what's been going on, but I'm just going to say, Vicki, what has been happening in your life?
I've noticed a bit of climate change. I've been able to ski the last 2 weeks in May in Colorado. It's a little unusual. So that's been the fun side. The downside has been, I'm just a little perplexed. The oil spill in Santa Barbara, it's devastating. It's shocking. All of us went to the Blue Vision Summit talking with our legislators about the East Coast. They're opening up offshore oil development. And we spoke with every single legislator on the Hill, all of us who represented a district, talking about the importance of our oceans, how we really need healthy oceans, and by opening up new areas for exploration and for leasing, the potential for devastation and environmental impact. And boom, here comes Santa Barbara. And it's just, it's sad because so many of our legislative leaders were just like, it's safe, it's worth it, and then we have something like this happen. It's overwhelming.
I hate to say this, but I think that the timing is amazing. There's an upside to this, and I see that last week going to Blue Vision Summit, you were representing Colorado Ocean Coalition, which you founded, and you're the co-founder of Blue the Dive, and you're with all these other people, these ocean activists. We're on the Hill talking to all these people, telling them that this is an issue. We do not want any more oil exploration, oil drilling, etc. in the ocean, especially on the East Coast. This is a problem. They're going, yes, 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 that's all very fine, dear. And bang. They're gonna look at what you said last week with a completely different set of eyes now. You've already told them what's going to happen. They said it wouldn't, and now it has, and here we are.
Well, I'm hoping that we can turn this into a positive situation. And we have 300 to 400 people attending the Blue Vision Summit. We were all on the same page. We all went to the Hill representing over 50 states. And I think we do have a powerful voice, and we really need to now continue to galvanize our constituents to say, we're on the edge of opening up a whole new coast in the United States. Let's not do this. So it's time to really get our activist hats on and get the word out and make those connections.
The thing is, I'm sure some people are saying, why are we talking about this? This is something that happens off Santa Barbara where all the rich people live, and it's not really our issue. And what does it have to do with the dive industry anyway? And of course, this is happening at the same time as Monterey Bay just had a huge raw sewage spill. Same day. I mean, yesterday was, we're pre-recording this, so yesterday was one heck of a day for the oceans on the west coast of the United States. I know just talking to people yesterday, people were just in shock. People were angry. People were crying. When you see what's going on with the animals on the West Coast right now, we're going for full ecosystem collapse in marine protected areas. This is shocking. This has everything to do with the dive industry, and people need to listen up. This is crucial. So I want to hear from you because you went up on the Hill. I had to do some other things. You went up on the Hill. I want to know how you did this. What did you say to these people? How did you connect with them? Okay, because this is going to be up to us, because each of us in our own districts is going to have to start talking to our elected officials. They're elected and they need to do what we ask them to do, not what they think is going to get them a vote or some payback or moolah from a corporation. What did you say to them?
Well, we had a very powerful coalition. So we had about 22 people representing the Inland Ocean delegation. We had people from Michigan, we had people from Canada that came down, many people from Colorado. So we also had industry representatives. So we had Allie Miller, and I'm delighted she was here. She is the president of the Colorado Scuba Retailers Association, and that represents about 15 dive shops in the state. And each one of those dive shops have a constituency of thousands, because not only do they dive with those dive shops and purchase with those dive shops, but those shops have relationships with vendors across the country and resorts around the world. So the ripple effect is phenomenal. So Allie was very clear in her presentation. Not only are we looking at the environmental components of our concerns, but there is a very strong inland economic piece, because our divers travel. Not only divers, but our inland community travels to beaches. But specifically divers, they like to go to beautiful areas. That's why we want to get underwater, to see the beauty of the ocean. And by having these impacts, by having these potential spills, by having all of the issues we're addressing, really does have a significant impact in our inland states, in addition to just the coastal states. So what we did, we went in as an organized entity. We set up all of our meetings in advance so they knew we were coming. We organized ourselves, so there was an introduction, which I did, representing who we were, why we were here, and then we picked a couple of issues, and one was offshore oil development. And we explained to them the importance, not only because we love the environment and we're divers, but it's an economic critical component to the dive industry in Colorado and across the state to really have healthy oceans. And then we talked about a couple of other bills that were important to us that were both in the Senate and in the House. And then we brought Teens for Oceans with us. So we had a youth voice saying that they were growing up in this environment and how they were looking towards their future. And they expressed some of their emotional connections to the sea. And then we wrapped it up by saying that we were counting on their support to represent this inland ocean delegation's concern for oceans, and that we hope that we can go back and find out how they are voting on these bills to really create a sense of accountability. So it was a very organized, it took a number of months, but it was a great concerted effort on all of our parts, and we were able to go in very effectively, state our concerns. We were in and out within 20 minutes to a half an hour, and we actually talked to every single representative in Colorado. So it was a very powerful experience for our delegation. And then we went back to the summit and met with all of the people on the Hill, hundreds, and really felt like we were trying to get this message out to the whole United States, all of those people sitting up on Capitol Hill that really need to hear from the dive community, the snorkel community, the beachgoers, and just people who love the ocean.
This economic component is so important, and we don't realize how powerful we can be when we come together, as the Blue Vision Summiters did last week, come together and say, listen, our businesses rely on a clean ocean, and this is how the impact on us. And it's a lot more effective in many respects than an NGO, a nonprofit, going in and saying, please be nice to the ocean, and it's the right thing to do. It doesn't get the attention the way you guys get the attention.
I think you're absolutely right. And if I can transition this to Tad to this whole idea of Blue the Dive, this initiative started, a similar initiative started in 2007 with the environmental community and with NOAA. And they tried to actually move the dial. They called it greening the dive. But it never stuck because industry wasn't at the table. And so I think this is the big difference between what we're doing now with Blue the Dive. It really came from the industry, and they reached out to Colorado Ocean Coalition and Ocean First Institute as a way to help them with the message. But it's industry driven, and there are hardcore economic factors that really need to be brought in, not just, we love the ocean, we want to save it. So it really has a much more powerful voice. And we were able to convey that voice when we were on the Hill.
Right. Well, this is the thing that I didn't realize how powerful our industry can be. And I come from this industry, so I think, oh, we're just this little dive industry. We're just, doing our thing, and it's really cool, and we get to hang out with really fun, interesting people, and we get to see really neat things. But then when you start to see that we actually have this incredible perspective, because we are watching the foundation of our business start to degrade before our eyes, and the infrastructure that we need not going in to protect it, and the laws that need to be in place and to be held up to protect it. All of a sudden, us little dive industry people, all of a sudden we have a huge role to play. And I think that's why when I heard about your Blue the Dive movement 2 years ago, I was just, I can't tell you how thankful I was when I saw that email come in about this gathering of Blue the Dive, or it was called Bluing the Dive Industry. Yes. In 2013. And I don't know how you guys managed to do this, but in very short order, all of a sudden there was a meeting at DEMA 2013. Let's just talk about that and where you were there and how far we've come from just 2 years ago.
Well, it actually started at Making Waves in Colorado in 2012. And we were working regionally with the dive community, the dive shops, the industry. And they said, we're developing a sense of trust with you. We really want to get the dive community, the dive industry, a little bit engaged in the environment that we so rely on for our businesses, our livelihoods. So we brought together a group of people at the Making Waves event, which I already had scientists. I had Fabian Cousteau in here. I had a lot of speakers already. And then CSRA, the Colorado Scuba Retailers Association, brought in many of the international resorts and vendors and other dive shops. So we had a conversation that very day in the fall of 2012, and we put it out there. Do you think it's a good idea? Again, it was led by the CSRA, the industry, and then we brought in the environmental voice, the youth voice, the scientific voice, and we all sat around and said, absolutely, and we can be a very powerful entity moving forward. But one of the things that we were careful with is that it had to be collaborative. We had to all figure out together what the next steps would be together. We didn't want to mandate in this tiny room what we were going to do. So we took that concept and said, let's go to DEMA the following year, which is where you joined us. And we started talking about it kind of in the belly of the beast at DEMA in the industry. And again, got additional feedback, and it gave us a little bit more goals and objectives that we could sort of craft. And then we did some work and developed a leadership team that year, and then went back to DEMA in Vegas, where we actually held a workshop, and we were able to break down the different sectors of the industry. And people gave us ideas, and we shared about what we can accomplish and what we can do. And so we are at a point now where we have a couple of really clear things that we are offering with the Blue the Dive. And the first thing is the consensus statement. And we have just shy of 2,000 people signing that consensus statement. And that simply says 4 different things. It basically says, we really love this idea to, 1, blue the dive industry, make it more sustainable. 2, let's start educating the divers and the snorkelers and the free divers about how important the ocean is and how they can get involved. 3 is to work with the manufacturing industry to make them more sustainable and produce less waste. Think about all the plastic and the packaging. And then the 4th is to really embrace the scientific information that's out there about the problems that we have in our ocean, and then come up with actions or create an advocacy voice for the dive community to get engaged. So that is all packaged in the pledge that we are trying to get people to sign as just some very broad goals. And they're not so specific where people are worried about getting involved in something that might be terribly controversial, but it's like, yes, we really feel that the dive industry should have a voice. So signing that consensus statement is very important, and then sharing that with friends, family, agencies, other nonprofits, dive centers, dive shops, dive resorts, the whole shebang. Then there's a second piece of it, which is something we developed through Colorado Ocean Coalition's Ocean Ambassador Program and our local dive shops, and that is Take the Dip. It's basically a dip pledge, and there are components of it, and it's very simple. It's saying, okay, when I go diving, I'm going to have a low impact on the environment. I'm going to practice my buoyancy, and I'm not going to step on the corals, and if I see that somebody is not able to do that, give them a little help or get a dive master to help them out. Very simple. I'm going to take care of the environment that I'm diving in. The second is to decrease plastic pollution. When you travel and dive, take your own water bottle, bring your own bag, and when you're traveling and you're bringing little containers of shampoos, etc., take them home. Because a lot of the places that we love to dive in are somewhat remote and they aren't able to recycle those plastics. The third is protect your local waters. Simple thing. When you go diving, swimming, make sure that you are using reef-safe sunscreen. People aren't really doing that enough. And conserve water. Take short showers. Easy stuff. Go local. Number 4. Think about what you're eating. When you're on a little island in Mexico, whatever, eat local. And here's the really important thing about that. Think about what you're eating from the sea. We go diving, we say, where are all the big fish? And then we order a grouper sandwich. So what we consume, what we purchase, really does have a direct impact on the reefs and on the environment. And then the 5th one is just be active. Instead of going and sitting in a bar for your cocktails after your dive, take a few people and walk the beach and pick up garbage. Join a local effort. Support the initiatives of Blue the Dive financially or an organization. So these are the 5 things that our local dive shops are using now when they are putting together trips. And it's just called Take Your Dip Pledge. And you can find that on the Blue the Dive website. The other one is if you go to DEMA, come to our workshops, because this is how we get your feedback, get your information. And this is a grassroots initiative. We don't have a paid coordinator. We are all taking time out of our busy day to try to make this happen. So we really need everybody's feedback to give us the input so everybody can take a little piece of it to move it forward. There are initiatives in other countries that are funded. We are starting this because we see a need. We're not being told, here's a big pile of money, go make it happen. We're trying to make it happen. So engagement is just critical for the dive industry to really help us move this concept forward.
Your whole background doing the Colorado Ocean Coalition about being a good, well, this is your program, one of your programs is being a good ocean ambassador. And you have an ocean ambassadors program. And when I talked to you about this on several occasions about how I think this is so fundamental to our businesses is becoming ocean ambassadors. And this is something kind of in the background of Blue the Dive, but it really is fundamental. That is the overall goal, is for all of us to become ocean ambassadors. So if, let's say, somebody wanted to take your ocean ambassador program through Colorado Ocean Coalition, because people are taking them and they're going elsewhere. They're not just in Colorado. They're going out and setting up their own chapters. Can you just walk us through specifically what you teach during your ocean ambassador curriculum?
Certainly. We start out with an overview of what's happening in the ocean. And we start out with watersheds because we are inland, and when you live in an inland community, you've got mountains and rivers and streams, and how we take care of those waterways that flow to the ocean really impacts the ocean. So we start in our own backyard, and we look at sewage treatment systems and some of the problems and solutions. Then we work our way all the way down to the ocean, and we cover climate change, ocean acidification, overfishing, plastic pollution. And as we're doing that, we are also talking about different things that we can do to help alleviate some of those problems. So it's a problems and solutions. And we bring in scientists from the universities, from NOAA, from different national laboratories. We bring in speakers from the National Marine Sanctuaries program. So we really try to make it rich with people talking with us. We sometimes will use Skype. And then we'll take those ideas and we'll break out and do some activities and really try to figure out, so how do you convey this information to other people without being a total bummer? Because you cannot just give negative information without giving hope. And then as the curriculum continues, we start looking at how to use social media. We talk about public speaking, how you would give a presentation. We look at how youth perceives different information. And then we sort of wrap it all up with an ending where they will then have the rest of the year to then give back through their community outreach, 50 hours individually, to go out and make a difference in their community. A lot of it is basically tabling or doing quick cleanups or working with youth or giving presentations, but we also give them an opportunity to do a special project. And some of the projects vary depending on the individual. So, for example, we have a jewelry maker who has made beautiful Colorado Ocean Coalition jewelry. She sells it, and then the proceeds come to us. We have another ambassador who is a PhD chemist, and so she's writing scientific papers about our connection and then trying to get them into journals. We have another ambassador who is a journalist and has developed a radio program where it is really focused on oceans. And I could go on and on. But it's a combination of achieving the goals of the organization, which is educating people about issues, creating an inland ocean movement, and providing opportunities for engagement, and then using their own personal skills to really get out there and create a cultural shift in helping people understand you don't have to see the ocean to protect it. There are so many things that we can do remotely that can make a significant difference.
I love how we have the opportunity to connect in different ways by following through with your Ocean Ambassador program. Of course, you know me, I want to see your Ocean Ambassador program everywhere in the world. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah. We hope at some point that we can make it a little bit more web-based and really push it out, but we're still developing some of those concepts.
The cool thing is, this is just from doing this summit. We're missing some key components in our own industry to be able to convey the information we need to convey to help with this shift. We're missing ocean literacy part, how the ocean works. We're missing that part, which we now, from talking to a whole bunch of people, including you, we do have that ocean literacy part in our community that can help us, get up to speed on how the ocean ecosystems work, how coral reef system works. So that piece we're covering off in the summit. The other piece is the issues literacy, and how to talk about it without being a bummer. And this is the beauty of the Colorado Ocean Coalition's Ocean Ambassador program, is because there's a big thing in our industry that says talking about the state of the ocean is bad for business. So with your Ocean Ambassador program, people can learn how to address these issues, how to talk about these issues without being a bummer, but also piquing people's interest so they go, oh, I can actually do something about this. This actually means something to me. I didn't realize it affected me. And now I know what I can do to be part of the solution, which I think is brilliant. And then to be able to go out into the community because of your 50 hours of service. If I were a dive industry member that was going to take part in your Ocean Ambassador program, I would think, first of all, I go, oh man, 50 hours, I'm too busy. But then if I put my thinking into the future hat on, my innovation hat, I would go, this is going to allow me to go into places that I've never gone in before and connect with people that I've never been able to connect before. And now I have this excuse that I'm doing this. And so I'm going to be able to attract a whole new revenue streams of people, whole new diving population, snorkeling population, youth population that I could not attract before. So this is why I think your program is so brilliant. Just saying.
Love it. Well, thank you. Thank you. And what was really neat about the Blue Vision Summit, we were taking our ocean ambassadors and we were taking some of the leadership team with Blue the Dive, and it begins to create a community. And I think where we often feel alone with our worries, our concerns about the environment, about the economics, the whole gamut, is we don't feel like we have a community that we can interrelate with, communicate with, and really go forward together in a positive manner. So it really does have that fun piece to it and supportive piece that I think is really critical for developing those changes.
Well, that's what attracted me to you, and that's because I felt alone. I was running my business and realizing what was going on, and yet the industry leaders, on this side of the pond, weren't saying anything about it. That we're not even. I mean, you don't even see it in magazines. You don't see any of this stuff being covered, but now it is because of. I think Blue the Dive is making some inroads there, creating some pressure, a pressure wave. But back then, 2-3 years ago, I was not seeing any kind of leadership, and I was just seeing people going like this, and I was afraid to talk about it for fear the messenger was going to be shot. Yeah. And now that we have this community and it keeps growing, it's really wonderful. We have this community of people who are now hearing about Blue the Dive and realizing, oh, I'm not alone. There's other people who get this, because it's the elephant in the ocean is all of these issues that we're afraid to talk about for fear it's going to be bad for business or we're going to get shot at. Yeah. But now it's okay. It's because we're together and we have a support group. If we do get shot at, it's all okay.
And the neat thing I think would be, as we start moving this Blue the Dive idea, people start putting the Blue the Dive stickers in. They start talking with their dive masters who are going out with people. They're talking about the conservation piece, how to take care of the reef, not just, here we're going to go out and see cool things, but talking about that, feeling comfortable and feeling supportive to bring that conservation voice in. And that will bring about change. And that's what we need. We have as Sylvia Earle says, we are in the perfect place right now. We see the problems, but we now have the awareness and we have the solutions. And now we just need to implement them. So Blue the Dive is all about waking up to the fact that our oceans need our help. The dive community's never been organized before. And then articulating that help to actual real on-the-ground actions. And that's really what Blue the Dive is all about.
The one thing that happens with you and the whole Blue the Dive thing is that it's starting to bring all the stakeholders together, because before, even in our associations, not all dive industry stakeholders are recognized. But in the Blue the Dive movement, everybody is recognized. And even within the leadership team, we have educators like yourself. We have scientists like Mickey. We have amazing business people. And I think pretty much all of the stakeholder groups are somehow represented, even manufacturers, through Doug McNeese and his relationship with Mares through SSI. We have all the stakeholder groups represented. And this is the only way that change can happen, is when you bring all the stakeholders together. And I believe that that's why it hasn't worked up to now, is that we were missing people. People that we needed to be able to move forward with. And I just feel this, I feel that we're being moved forward, and as we talk to people, it's just like it's creating this massive. I think we're at the tipping point. I really do. I feel we're there. I got to tell a story. About. Oh, this is so funny. So I go to Akamal every year. Everyone who's watching this, I go to Akamal every year, and my daughter takes her scuba diving lessons from our favorite dive shop there and a favorite instructor. And of course, every year I go to and I talk to our favorite instructor, Natalie, we talk about issues. And she's very issue driven, and she has no problem talking very calmly but very seriously to her divers about what's going on in the ocean, and this is what we're going to do this is what we are doing to help be part of the solution. So she's a MERS sister as well. Anyway, so I was telling her about the Blue the Dive movement and what we're doing, and I wanted to interview her and some of her compatriots about how they're starting up a coral restoration area, how they're working with the lionfish, what they're doing about development, what they're doing about the impact of too much tourism in Akamal. And we had this beautiful conversation, and then of course I leave. And I'm off to another beautiful part of Mexico that was virtually untouched, except for the plastic rolling in from everywhere else in the world. And I get this email from Natalie, and she's going, "Lori, there's this woman here, and she's talking about Blue the Dive." And I'm going, I don't know. She says she knows you.
Yeah, that was so funny.
It was so funny. I'm going, what does she look like? Well, she looks kind of like you, she's petite and blonde. I'm going, oh my God. And there you were, just the Blue the Dive message, and you were talking to a whole bunch of people down there too. This is how it happens, one person at a time.
Yeah.
It's not this broadcast email thing. It's like connecting one person at a time, and it's happening so quickly because we're taking this route. I'm loving it.
It's great, and the Akamal Dive Center is fantastic. And so I was there interviewing different people from the dive center, their dive masters, and then getting them onto the Blue the Dive site and meeting people from Blue Sphere and just different other groups that are working, and they start getting excited. So now you have these pockets that are really embracing Blue the Dive. And as we travel, whether or not we're going for family vacations like we were, or we're doing dive trips, you can really just take a very simple message of, hey, we have a voice, we can all work together. And again, it's about those touch points. It's not about massive emails. It's about real relationships, connecting, and then sharing your enthusiasm. And then they get it, and they want to be part of this positive movement. So when I think back at the dive industry not wanting to be a bummer, not wanting to talk about all the problems, I think Blue the Dive is flipping it. I think it's providing a really excellent opportunity to be part of this new blue movement where we are really understanding the problems and taking a proactive voice forward and teaching our industry on all these different levels things that they can do. And then at DEMA, where we can get together, then we share it, and then it spins out a whole new level of interest and excitement. And it's like creating the blue ball. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the positive attitude, I think, is really critical, especially in the industry where people are afraid to talk about the problem. It's the solutions we're focusing on.
Yeah. I don't think there's one business in our industry who is not touched in a big way by at least one of the issues. I mean, we can ignore them so far, but there is one issue that each of them is dealing with. It's a different issue, but everybody has one issue that they're grappling with. And just from the talks that we do when we stroll the aisles at dive shows, which we're becoming quite good at, and talking about Blue the Dive, the importance of listening to people and finding out what their issue is, and then just going, oh, well, that's interesting. This is not an uncommon issue. There's all these other people who are dealing with the same issue, and this is what some people are doing about it. And that's when you got them. That's when you got them. They get it. That Blue the Dive is a very powerful movement. It's collaborative. It's a way people can share information. Like, eagles are at the door. They do not come into the room. This is why it's so powerful. It's not about competition, because we're all in the same boat. Yeah. So we can't be fighting. We have to be sharing and figuring this thing out. And that's what I love about this. And I want to tell you, you guys, you know, this is what I say. What happens in Boulder does not stay in Boulder. And it is so true. It is so true. There's something in the water in Boulder, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate all the things you guys are doing, and I'm so honored to be part of the team. And I want to let people know that there's plenty of room for more people to join and be part of this, because we all bring different things to the table. And it's really interesting. I'm finding that all of us wear different hats, because we're all most of us are in small business, so we always wear different hats. But when I start talking to other people on our leadership team, I mean, you're an educator, you run a nonprofit, you have a science background, you work for NOAA, you have done education programs for kids. All of these different things that you have done so far in your career are all coming to bear now on where we're at, and it's all your unique perspective is part of the solution. And I want to tell everybody watching this that everybody has a unique perspective, and we are all part of the solution. That's why we're on this summit, because we know deep down that we're all part of the solution. And I want to see ocean ambassadors all over the world, and whatever I can do.
I think you have to own it. And one way that people can own it is to become an ocean ambassador. Be part of Blue the Dive. Just be part of the solution. It's the way to go.
It's really easy. As you say, the pledge link is in our resources section on our site. The dip is on the resources section. It's a link to the bluethedive.org. Both are links. So there's no reason. Those are two things people can do right now to be part of the solution. It's very, very simple. Sign up for the newsletter at Blue the Dive. Come to DEMA and join us for the next workshop. It's going to be great, and it's very exciting to be around people who are doing really great things and are part of the solution. So thank you, Vicki, for all you do.
Thank you. Now, I'm so happy you're part of the team. It's great. It's the best. And as I look out of my gray spring skies here in Boulder and have had days and days of rain, I think about all the successes that we have in collaboration, and that brings me a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah. And more to come.
More, for sure. Alrighty. Thank you so much for including me.
You take care, Vicki. My mer sister in crime.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.